Hi, Tim Cant here, and in this video we're going to take a look at a trap beat I made in WavTool, a free online DAW. You can find a download with the project and samples in the video description, and if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. So, I started this project by setting the tempo to 140 BPM. The first element I added was a piano part using the Win.Wav piano instrument. I wanted something simple to base the track around, so I composed a really straightforward chord progression that plays F minor and C sharp major. To develop this idea, I added some ascending notes from the scale on the octave above to create a melody, and these notes create a kind of moody and somber vibe. This is a very simple chord progression, and the melody gives me a musical foundation for the rest of the track. However, if we were to keep running this melody throughout the entire track, it would get boring, so I created two variations on it. One is just the chords without the melody, which plays during a bridge part we'll look at later, and the other is a variation on the chord progression with no melody. This version simply adds another chord on the end of the progression, so it plays F minor, C sharp major, A sharp minor. So, we have three different versions of the piano part, and we can think of these a bit like a chorus, a verse and a bridge, and by switching up between these we can hopefully keep things interesting. An important part of music production is of course getting the right vibe with your sounds, and to get this piano sounding right I used a low shelf EQ to thin it out slightly. This makes it sound more delicate and ethereal, and also makes room in the mix for the beats and bass, which need a lot of room to sound full and punchy. I also used a fair bit of reverb on the piano, which gives it an atmospheric feel. Next I needed a beat, and for this I used WavTool's built-in JL808 drum kit. I put the kick and the clap on different tracks so I could easily adjust their gain levels separately. The kick and the clap pattern is really very simple: claps on the third beat of each bar and a kick that plays 1 and then 3 times. It's worth noting that by default, WavTool will route the kick of the drum kits to a sidechain input track. We will take a look at that later. I wanted to be able to play a closed hat on different pitches, so instead of using the hat in the JL808 kit, I brought in my own closed 808 hat sample, and you can find the samples I made for this project in the download in the description. I sometimes transpose this hat to play on different pitches, and sometimes I put in some triplet rolls which create a rhythmic interplay with the kick and the clap. You can switch the grid over to triplets by clicking this little 3 button in the MIDI editor. I also wanted a little snare roll in here. Again, I wanted to be able to play this pitched, so I brought in my own sample and made this little roll. Nothing too complicated going on here. The crash is another sample I added. I wanted a really subtle 808 crash sample, and this just plays every 8 bars as a kind of episodic marker that helps punctuate the start of each section. Now comes the 808 bass, which is very important when making a trap beat. For this I brought in a bit of a lazy distorted 808 which plays pitch to create the bass line. Getting the rhythmic interaction between this and the drum samples is important, and it was just a trial and error in this case. Getting a pattern I felt worked. This 808, like all the other non-drum elements, is routed to the sidechain channel, and if we check out the master track, we can see the settings I've used for the kick to duck everything that runs through the sidechain channel. It's pretty subtle, but it helps the kick and the 808 bass sit together in the mix. For the vocals, I used a popular subscription-based sample site, so these vocals aren't included in the download, I'm afraid. If you're making an instrumental for a vocalist, you typically want to leave a lot of room for their vocal, which is why this backing track is pretty simple. It leaves a lot of space for the vocal, but equally, you want some kind of little hook in there, and in this beat, it's these vocals that are the catchiest part. The first one is just a whoop. It's a cool sample, and it just plays twice to punctuate things, nothing too complicated. The second vocal sample is used in a slightly more complex manner. It plays once at its original pitch, and then again pitch shifted down an octave to create a call and response type effect. Next we have a muted guitar patch, specifically palm mute guitar, and this has a bit of low shelf and high shelf EQ on it to thin it out and dull it slightly. This plays two variations, one where the vocal is playing, which stops playing when the vocal plays, and another where it has a bit more room and there's a bit more melody in there. The string stab is a synthesized string hit I brought in. This plays every 4 bars to emphasize the beginning of each musical section. Really very simple. For the bridge section, I brought in a Mellotron style choir sample I made, and this just follows the root note of the bridge piano chords. Just 2 notes, very simple, leaving room for the muted guitar to do its thing. Keep this arrangement moving, I brought in a riser sample, and again this works as an episodic marker that builds up anticipation of a new section. The final element I added is a Stormy Rain sample that helps fill out the mix when the beats aren't playing. I got this from freesound.org, specifically Rain and Thunder 4 by Flathill. Flathill kindly used a Creative Commons 0 license for this sound, so you can do whatever you like with it, so that is included in the download in the description. So let's have a playthrough of the track. I won't talk over this so that you can hear what's happening, but I will point out that to try and keep things interesting, the piano swaps between the different patterns throughout the track, and the various melody elements swap in and out. Hopefully this makes for an instrumental that leaves plenty of room for a vocal, while not being too repetitive. You can open the project in the download with Open Project from Zip in the File menu. And until I see you again, have fun making music.